This is Dirshu Mishnah Berurah as we begin a new Siman in Hilchos Kriya Shema, Siman Ayin Beis. Siman Ayin Beis, the Mechaber coins, Din Noisei Hamita V'Amenachim V'Melavim, those who are carrying the Mita, the Aroin of the mace, and those who are Menachim, those who are consoling, and those who are Melaveh, those who are escorting. So says the Mechaber Noisei Hamita V'Chalufeim, those who are carrying the pallbearers, those who are carrying the mace, and those who exchange for them. Because the same people wouldn't carry the mace straight. You'd have one group, and then a second group, and then a third group, and they would keep on rotating. Those who are in front of the mace, those who are behind, since the mita needs them, since they are a necessity for the kvura, for the mace, Paturim, they are part from Kriya Shema. And everyone else that is being malaveh as a mace, those people are not necessary to carry the actual mita. Chayavim, they are obligated to say Shema. So it says the Mishnah Berurah over here, we're chilufei. The Mishnah Berurah addresses the question that I'm sure many people are wondering. Addresses the Mishnah Berurah that 1 second. While Group A is carrying the mita, Group B and Group C, they should have time to say Shema as they are waiting. Says the Mishnah Berurah, no. Why? Because at times they change their mind and they give it to them to carry, and therefore they do not have to begin Shema. And this really brings out, he's quoting over here the last Talmud, this really brings out the rule of Isaac and Mitzvah, Patim and HaMitzvah. The asikas in the mitzvah, the dealing with the mitzvah does not necessarily mean you're actively at this moment doing the mitzvah. But if you are actively at this moment an integral ingredient to the mitzvah, which means that if at any moment you're going to be called to quickly carry, you're going to be tasked with the job at hand, that means you're dealing with the mitzvah, and that gives you the patur. There's a chaver kaddish that deal with this chol chabura, machlif and lases, they all change spaces to carry the v'shekulam chafetim lischais by, because they all want this chus to carry the mace. Kulam patur mikriyish val v'sheim paturu dim tir, that's mitzvah as we just explained. Even those who are far away. But there's no specialized group to carry the mita, asmuch mita p'tur, and those who are close by are pater. Those who are closest, they get the schos. When it gets heavy, so the Mishnah Berurah is explaining that if there's one group, these are the people that carry the mita. So those 5, 10, 20 people, they're pater, regardless if they're, we'll call them the first in reserve or second in reserve. But if there is not a specialized group to carry the mita, but rather there are people who carry it and there are people who wait and they get, which is perhaps the more common mitzias nowadays, that is not necessarily one group, but how does it work? The way that it works is one group carries the mita, usually starts with the family, and then other people who are near the mace, they get involved. So in such a scenario, then whoever is closest is pater, because the ones who are closest, they're the ones that are going to be called the next to carry the mace, but those who are further away will be chayiv. Says Mishnah Berurah Sefkat and Gimel, but other people are chayavim. Says Mishnah Berurah 1 second, being melave escorting the mace is called a chesed, and that's a din daraisa. Another very important rule in Isaac mitzvah, patim and a mitzvah. It's not the fact that you're doing a mitzvah. I'm doing a levayis hameis. I'm doing a chesed midaraisa. Still, you're not tarud. You're not actively, intrinsically involved in the mitzvah. And you could stop. You can have kavanah for the first pasuk, and that's the reason you're a chayiv. And the rest of it you can read while you're walking. Of course, the Mishnah Berurah quickly reminding us that the first pasuk of Shema should be said standing still. But you're not able to have the appropriate kavana to actually daven Shemaina Esrei. We continue with Sif Beis, says the Mechaber, in Baitin as Amei Samach LeKriya Shema. We should not take out the mace near Kriya Shema, she'in shos lo yitziyoi. There's not going to be time to take it out. L'kavra in taberiyim koidem, she'igi as man Kriya Shema before this man comes. V'meschio lo yitziyo, then he mafsik adei lekroy. So if you started, you don't stop. But l'chatzchila, you should not be starting. Says Mishnah Berurah Sefkat and Dalid, ein moitziyin. Ve'im kvar yigi azman kriyishma, if the zman already came, yisham leis acher zman sheyuchlu l'shayir shekvar esbalu roi v'kol. They shall wait for the kvura until they know the majority of the congregation could daven. V'gam sheneisi amita kvar karu v'isbalu. And this is, of course, the reason why in contemporarily this is not such a practice halacha. Not that it's not a practice halacha, just the case doesn't happen so often. Why does the case happen so often? Because they make sure to schedule avayas and not during the zman of kriyishma as the halacha just dictated. Sifkat and Hayes Ameis. Afilu Adam Chashav, even Adam Chashav, the Indian Zel like Bizmanino, Adam Chashav, like this. That is not so and so great. Already the Chavetz Chaim is teaching us, quoting over here, Beis Yosef in the Taz, that already in their times they're saying that there's no one great enough to do lechatzchila to push away Shema. Of course, Mishnah Berurah is pointing out from the Beis Yosef in the Taz is the concept that you want to bury the mace as quickly as possible. But again, we're learning that there's no one great enough to push off Kriyishma. Shegi azman sevkat vav mistimas l'shayne masha d'chena adin b'kriyishma shel arvis. Sounds the same thing at nighttime. Of course, relevant more in Eretz Yisrael when they bury at night. Why? If you don't bury right now, you can bury from Lo Salin, leaving the mace overnight. Says Mishmur, 1 second. Of course, you could bury it later. Excuse me. So the Mishmur is talking about that this would seemingly be applicable by Kriyishma Shel Arvis if it's at the end of the day, about to be and you're going to be in the middle of the Kvura when the time of Kriyishma starts. So maybe that would be the same halacha. Asks the Mishnah Berurah, what do you mean? Just bury a night. Says the Mishnah Berurah, no, but there's still the mitzvah say the ikar zman of the kvura is supposed to be by yoim. I'm like when it called them shkiyas acham of in this damish and nishtah. It tells like kvura and mishachas sheikh. If it happens, then yamtinu malatzah sheisbal kol ma'ariv. Then you should wait, of course, till everyone davens ma'ariv. But if they began the kvura, feel achash shegiyas man kriyishma. Ein mafsikin says Mishmur of katan chaz pirush. Hamasichin lasis amita. Those who need to carry the mita. Afilim yavar ideas says man kriyishma. If they miss this man, the kvura is misim devar ta'ira. Important to remind ourselves. We're learning the halachas here of avelus, of aninos, of kvura. Says Mishnah Berurah, the din of the kvura of a mace is a midaraisa. Aval elu she'in la midas argbam. The people are not necessarily chavan likros take of aval pi. Shishadayim might show they have to read right away, even though there is still time. Continues the Machaber in Sif Gimel. Those who are dealing with the Hefsi, Bizman Shameis Mutal of name, when the mace is sitting there, they should slip away one at a time in order to say Shema and Davin. If the mace is not there, if the mace is not sitting there, then they should sit in Davin, and the Einin should sit quietly. So it says Mishnah Berurah of Katan Taz, they should be nishmatim, should be actually kanitz la mace. Why? It's a halacha that we've learned already. You're not allowed to say krisha next to the mace. Why? Misham layig l'rash, making the mace jealous that it itself cannot say Shema. Umispalim sevkatan yod. V'harbe paiskim cholkin usvilu daikilu linyan tefila b'mace mutal of ne'am. That were makel even to daven if the mace is there. Kimish tefillah derabanan, since tefillah is a din derabanan. The person who's actually saying that doesn't have to stop the daven. So the Einin says quietly, the Einin should not answer anything. As we've seen that an Einin is potter from such mitzvahs. And we conclude this Siman with Sifdalit and Hay that we're going to take together. Says the Mechaber, you bury the mace. The Avilim now accept the condolences. And everyone walks after them. They walk after them from the place of the burial to the place that they're standing. Avilim asa shura. After the burial, you make a shura that everyone stands in 2 lines, and the Avilim walk in between. If the people that are there are able to say the first pasuk of Shema before they reach to the line, they should do that. Says Ramah, that's only if, says Ramah, you can read afterwards. Says the Mechaber Seftei, those who are standing in the row, the inside row, so you can have a lot of people, so you can have to make multiple rows of people. So the inside row, they're going to see the face of the Avel. They're part from Kriyishma, they are Chayavim. And finally, the Mishnah Berurah of Katan Beis points out, you should read as much as you can before the Avel gets to you by the Shura. yesh shos, and the Ramah pointed out it's only if there is time afterwards to read Sivkat and Gimel. Avlim yaver zman kriyishma, but if you're going to miss the zman, ikru kriyishma tchila. Then what? Then you should first say Shema kiv shadayin los chilu mitzvahs tanchumin, because you didn't begin the mitzvah. And over here we're seeing a fine detail of a difference between those carrying the mita and standing in the shur. By carrying the mita was a larger patur because you're proactively dealing with the mitzvah. Over here, it's more of a waiting time. You're about to do the mitzvah of shura, the mitzvah of tanchumin. So if you're going to miss the zman, then you should begin and you should say Shema before the shura begins. And we'll pick it up with Siman and Gimel in the next year. B'siyata Dishmaya.